Okay, good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year to you all, and welcome to this cabinet meeting on 5th of January 2026. First item is apologies, and we have apologies from Councillor Blathwaite and Councillor Ringer. I'm not aware of any public questions, which is item 2, and item 3, declarations of interest. Presume there aren't any, but can I just ask the room? And item 4, we have no items of urgent business. And item 5 is member questions, and I presume there's none to be asked. Okay, so item 6 is, of course, the MHCLG consultation on proposals for local government reorganisation in Norfolk. The context here, which you're aware of, but currently is, of course, the launch of the consultation on the 3 different proposals for local government reorganisation proposed by ourselves, the 6th majority of district councils, and proposals from South Norfolk and Norfolk County Council. So we and other statutory stakeholders have been invited to also respond, and we have prepared a draft response which is within the agenda from page 11, or I think actually page 15 from the digital agenda. So our response, of course, focuses on things of concern to North Norfolk in terms of service provision, economic considerations, sparsity, geographic considerations, and it's for those reasons of course, consideration around financial sustainability of the new local authority or authorities that we consider the 3 to be significantly more advantageous to the future of the county and as a whole, more so than the single or the 2 unitary proposals. So we recognise that Norfolk is a very big geography with distinctive local areas and needs across urban, rural and coastal areas where one size would not fit all. And such an approach could create an imbalance in terms of attention, service provision, economic and housing growth. We are also, of course, concerned over impacts on representation, besides the sheer practicalities of larger numbers of councillors meeting in a single place as per the 2 or 1 proposals. There would, of course, be a greater reduction in elected representatives with the 2 and the 1 model, and there's a risk the new authority or authorities could appear or be perceived to be remote or less accessible to our residents, to our businesses and visitors, our service users generally. We also observe that the other proposals lack significant details around implementation, something the 3 proposal has gone into significant detail over, we think, in comparison with the 2 and 3, which to my mind seem significantly based around service cuts in the initial years to make the proposals stack up. We feel our own proposals are the most realistic without overstated unobtainable financial goals and achieving full financial sustainability from day 1. Ultimately, we do not wish to see Norfolk put all of its eggs in one basket, and as we have seen with other such examples elsewhere nationally, there is a real risk of doing so. So the 3 proposal is based on service improvement and transformation to avoid unnecessary crisis and service demand through linking of existing statutory services, and there seems to be no such real vision, to my mind, stated within the other 2 proposals, which are largely based on centralisation as opposed to localism. And we also have concerns how one council alone will complement devolution. So there needs to be a greater voice, I think, at the table for Norfolk, particularly with the eventual introduction of the mayoral combined county authority. So we felt it was obviously important to bring this discussion to the cabinet for transparency and continued visibility of this subject ahead of the deadline for submission of the response for the consultation, which is imminent. And we have also encouraged others to give their own responses, both as individuals and parish councils, etc., and have been using our media resources to do so. So in closing, I will propose the submission of the response set out in the paper, and obviously I'm happy to have any discussion. Councillor Tom.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for laying that out there. It was very good and succinct summary of what is a huge document. Firstly, as always, would like to thank officers for the considerable work that's gone into this and bringing this forward for us. This has been no short piece. It's almost the end of a long piece of work. I'm happy to second the proposal, but I'd also like to just say publicly that I hope the government, in recognising devolution through the mayoral piece, that they recognise the majority of local representation and the reasoning behind it. And it's about representation and bringing those decisions to local people and not removing it from them, which is why we've landed in the position that we have. But yes, I'm happy to second. And thank you.
Yeah, thank you, John. Councillor Varney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Firstly, I just want to say thank you for the comments this morning. But of course, reiterate the point that my hugest thanks go to officers for the fantastic work they've done. I think there's a lot of substantial effort to meet the criteria set out by central government. And that's, of course, on top of the fantastic things our officers do day to day, business as usual. So they've had a lot to contend with here. But I do think the free unitary model goes into depth where the other two proposals do not, showing that each of those aspects have been catered to. We've said throughout this process, this isn't something we want to do. I don't think any of us in this room would want to do this process, but it's important that we go through this process and make sure that we have the best outcome for Norfolk and Norfolk in whole for all our residents. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think adding to that, in terms of service provision and where we see ourselves moving forward, perhaps over the next 2 decades more, we've obviously got significant pressures on social care that we are generally familiar with, but sometimes personally familiar with, and obviously facing most significant pressures on those services for at least the next 30 years that we've really ever seen. So it's interesting. Obviously today we're seeing the media coverage around North Care. I think it's really important that we see a developed plan for social care, particularly in our area, the North. That's certainly our significant concern. But across the Eastern Authority, and the three gives the ability to come up with those distinct bespoke models that we need to achieve for future financial sustainability, but also service provision, and as I said earlier on, avoiding those avoidable crises that occur both in social care, but we see it in children's services and avoidable healthcare admissions, etc. Okay, Councillor Whittington.
Thank you. I'd just like to pick up on your point there about social care. And, at the moment, we are in a very broken system at the moment. So, like my colleagues, I certainly don't want to see what we are being proposed with. But I think actually this is an opportunity for us to break down those systems and as you say, make them much more demographic related. And we as a council and our fellow partnership with the waste, we're not it's not unknown to us how to work in partnership and how to bring those services together in a more meaningful way. So I think, you know, this is a little chink of light in a gloomy place, but it does give us that opportunity, and I think that's a big advantage of the three model.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think it's fair to say it's, you know, not been in sort of common discourse, this subject in households throughout the Christmas break. It's fair to say that. And, you know, of course, we saw an initial sort of burst of public interest when this was first announced. Of course, it wasn't stated government policy. We knew about the devolution. But, you know, I think we still need to do our best to encourage members of the public and indeed others to respond to the consultation in whatever numbers that we can. I think those more personal understanding of the way local services work, you know, always going to be important, and hopefully, you know, government civil service will take the time to understand those. One of the comments we obviously see most frequently when we look at social media posts, etc., is around elections. And of course, that's not a factor that we've been in any way controlled, had any control or say over in respect to the previous postponement of county council elections. That was not a decision for this authority. It was for the government and the county council. And we're obviously seeing that play out again, albeit, you know, local government have been asked for views on this occasion more widely. So that seems to be, you know, the issue that's of most concern, and we obviously understand that. But it's not something that we individually or collectively as district council have had any sort of view on. I can say personally, obviously, you know, elsewhere I voted for those elections to occur, but that's not a matter for us. Were there any other comments or issues? If not, it's been proposed and seconded. Can we just take a vote in favour of those in favour to agree the submission, please? Thank you. That's unanimous. Okay, so we obviously have no reason to undertake any closed business. Sorry, I just peek at the agenda. Just to item 7, just to remind myself what I should be saying here. Yeah, so we've obviously got no reason to exclude press or public and no private business. So that brings this meeting to a close. Thank you.